Welcome to Chop Shop Motors. My name is Clay, and today is going to be a hot rod how-to because I have been messing with some different hubcaps for one of the cars, and there's not a ton of information out there on them, and a lot of people that reference them do it in really broad strokes because they're not sure what they really are. And there are going to be a few out there that are absolutely in tune with this. But it is an area that we typically see used, kind of different hubcap choices on traditional hot rods. And what I'd like to do is take you through 5 different options that I have either leveraged or I have examples of. There are others. And there are other examples that are not Ford or Mercury that you could leverage, but I'm narrowing kind of the guardrails for me to what was something Ford Motor Company offered during kind of that post-war era, while we still used the early wheels that we typically think of as solids for hot rods. So what kind of cap would go on a 5-on-5.5 bolt pattern wheel that was internal nub for an internal hubcap, and I'll explain that a little more. It really the years were 40 to I'm sorry, I'm thinking on the fly here. They started in 1940 for the most part, the steel wheels that we'll reference, and they went up through 48. 49 passenger cars went to a smaller bolt pattern, but the trucks stayed 5-on-5.5 with this internal nub, either 15s or 16s, up until about mid 60s, 64, 65, maybe 64. Still had the internal nub wheels, and they are a great option to get steel wheels in a 15 that has that traditional hot rod look. But another topic for another day, and I think I've touched on those in a wheel video I did a year or two ago. So I'm gonna take you kind of down what these different hubcaps look like, where you can get them, what the nuances are, and I'll even touch on what are the differences between a real one and a reproduction. I have examples of some of both, and what are the pros and cons of them. Let's get rolling. Now it's time to dive in to what some of these hubcaps look like. The most common that we see on traditional hot rods and trucks is the 48 looking cap. So the 48 cap, which it's often referred to, is really simple. It's got Ford across the front. I've seen it with black letters, and I've seen it with blue letters. I've seen this hubcap come not chromed or not stainless on commercial vehicles. So you do see it on like 53 F100s as just a painted silver argent cap. It's just not very common, but you do see it from time to time. This cap, for some reason, has been the most popular in the traditional space. My guess is that it was just made, there were just so many of them made right after the war. So 46, so probably 47 and 48 was when it would have been used on a car. I have a 46 Ford I'll show you, so that wouldn't have been the same. And so probably just sheer numbers are what made this so popular. There are a lot of these covers out there that are reproduction, and they're not very expensive. You can buy a set reproduction probably for $100. You might have, if you went to a hot rod store, you might spend a little more than that, but you can find them all day long for $100, either new or somebody's bought them and they're selling them, but they're like new in reproduction. They're a little different price if they're originals. So if they were new old stock or unbelievably nice originals, I could see spending, you know, $250 for a really nice set. The difference is the fit. Not all reproduction caps that look like this are created equal, so I won't clump all of them into they don't fit very well. But I've had a fair number of these that I had bought for something I was selling, and that's when I kind of figured out that some of them just do not fit. The sheet metal on the inside is not as thick, and so they flex in this area and they just don't fit. So this cap has been bent and mangled, and this could very well be a reproduction. The problem is reproduction caps of this style have been around for decades. So just because it's kind of grody doesn't guarantee that it's original. You will find on this band, it will say Ford Motor Company somewhere on some of them. They probably had multiple companies building these caps for them. So things are not consistent. Sometimes you'll see a number stamped inside here that's a part number. That's a telltale that it's a real one. But sometimes they've been cleaned up and you can't tell. The way this hubcap has deflected in this area, I don't know if you can see it, but it's a little bowed and kind of misshapen here to get it on the wheel, is a tell that this probably is a reproduction. It looks good from the outside. It's just, it may not fit your wheels very well. And so keep that in mind as you're looking at these wheels. I'm a firm believer in original is better if it's an option. It won't always be an option. And sometimes between the money and the patience, you'll opt for a reproduction and it'll do just fine for you. Just be aware that sometimes they do fit differently. The original ones seem to be pretty consistent in size, and that is 47-48 wheel covers for the inside detent wheel that we're going to be looking at today. So really cool. We started off with the most common, and now we'll go down the line. The next one I'm showing you is a 46. This is a 46 passenger car wheel cover. This is an original. I've had these for probably 50 years. A good buddy of mine that helps me out in the shop still to this day, his dad gave these to me. He was cleaning out his garage and he did not need them anymore. And so I took them home when I was too young to even know whether or not they were cool, but I was a magnet for old Ford stuff. And some of that stuff I still have. The set I have, just to digress, is not as nice as this one. This is one of the nicer ones of the set, but it still is a set, and it's kind of cool. So this cover has the same shape that the 47-48 one had. So they used the same, I'll say blank, this portion, as they did in the 47-48. So 46 had these whiskers across the Ford, whiskers like here and whiskers here, and at some point they would have been painted, and I don't honestly off the top of my head I don't know what the colors were, probably black and maybe red on the whiskers. You do not see these very often. Every once in a while you'll see somebody who puts a set of these on. They aren't super common, and they're cool looking. I think the other ones maybe have a little higher likability to them, or the design, the aesthetic is a little more pleasing. But I share these because this is an option. These are 46 and they're 46 only to the best of my knowledge. And if you're looking to do something just a little bit different, but not so different that you're like creating kind of a redheaded stepchild, this could be a really cool option for you. I do not know. I'm assuming they make a reproduction cap like this. I do not know. This is an original cap. As you look inside, you can see some of what I'm talking about. This cap has been used over and over and over again, and it's got almost no distortion of this retaining ring. Now, this does have some whoop-de-doos here in the ring that holds it on onto the nubs, but that's not super rare. I'm looking to see if this one by chance, if I could see real quick Ford on it. I don't see a stamping, but it's really not clean enough to notice. It would be really light right here along the ring here, and it could very well say Ford on it. But these are not reproduction. This is what they look like. This is the whisker. Much easier to see when it's actually painted. The Ford looks the same as the 4748. A kind of cool option if you're looking for something a little different, but not too different. So 46. So now I've shown you 46, 47, and 48. There were no wheel covers that there probably was an option for 41 and into 42, and I don't know what that looked like. I think if I'm gonna go out on a limb. It was similar to this. It had more of an oval in the middle, and it just said Ford in it. It might have had like a whisker on the edges of the oval. You hardly ever see them. You don't see them on too many hot rods. Every once in a while. And I share that. I don't have an example. I'm not going to add any to my set, so there won't be a follow-up video on 41 and 42 wheel covers. So let me show you the next one, which is a 40. All right. Now we're starting to look at some really cool stuff. This is a 40 Deluxe wheel cover. It doesn't say Ford in the middle. It says V8. It has a really slick kind of Art Deco detail around the perimeter of it here of just rings. It's a smooth dome, and I just think these are incredibly cool. This is a reproduction cap. I've had these for quite a long time, but it is still a reproduction. They were on the 32 you see in the background, the primered one, on a set of orange wheels. I love them. I will, that car is going to get a different set of wheels when it's put back together, but the wheels that are on it and the caps will absolutely get used on something else. These are just that, they're just that cool. If you're looking for something that's timeless and you're looking for a wheel that's got a little earlier vibe to it, a 40 pre-war, just before we stopped production of passenger cars for 5 years, this cap will do it. It's a good looking cap. When you look on the inside, this one does not have anything stamped on it except Vintique. That was the company. Pretty straightforward. It did have a decal in it that said licensed by Ford Motor Company, but probably multiple companies that reproduced them. Like I said, I've had these for a very long time. They have a couple little scratches in them that happened because the car's gotten moved from shop to shop. So that was my bad. They were perfect when I got them. The Vintique stuff is typically really good. My guess is if you look on the inside will probably be different on some of the newer reproduction ones and might not be as high quality. Again, reproduction stuff is really subjective. You want to look at it and see how well it fits on a wheel and things like that. What I found is sometimes the reproductions, they either fit way sloppy or they're almost impossible to get on the wheel. The drag, you think, well, if they're really hard to get on the wheel, they won't come off. You're right, they will not come off. The problem is you tend to dent them putting them on. So it's a fine balance, right? Some of the aftermarket ones are just a touch thinner too, and that complicates the not denting them piece. So a really cool wheel, V8 emblem, fit the direction I was taking that 32 at the time. They will work on something else. I'm always recycling this stuff into some next project. So a really cool wheel, a really cool cap for these early wheel, and 40 only. There you go. Let's look at the next one. We just keep getting cooler and cooler. So this is a Mercury cap. As you look at it, you can see the Mercury cap is a bit bigger. It's probably an inch or more, an inch or so larger in diameter, and it makes the wheel look completely different. So Mercury, this particular cap was a 42, so I don't love the 41, 42 Ford cap. I could barely remember what it looks like. 42 Mercury, off the chain. So you will see some really unbelievable hot rods with this cap on it. This is a set of caps that I got when I bought the 32, the Brewster Green 32 four-door. They're in perfect shape. They fit well. They are reproduction. They do not, the reproduction ones typically do not come painted. At least the ones that I have seen of late advertised. And honestly, over the course of the last 6 months, nobody has had any. So I'm not sure that anybody is reproducing them currently, between what's happening geopolitically and inventory and shipping, and we were kind of riding a wave of not being able to be sure where stuff's coming from. My guess is these just aren't being reproduced right now. So this is a reproduction set. You can tell at a glance because the way they're stamped is a little softer. The edges of the die that make this reproduction wheel cover is not as crisp as the one that's used by Ford. Probably because in the reproduction world, they're making 1,000 hubcaps and Ford was making 100,000. They're really cool. The drag to them is that you gotta either have somebody paint them or you gotta paint them. And it's a very intricate paint, but when they're painted, and oftentimes guys will paint them in colors to complement their car. I think the way they came, so I'm not positive the way they came. I've seen them all black. I think that's actually how they came. All black. Mercury, which this guy with the wings is Mercury. He was black, and then the type was black. I've seen them all red, and I've seen them Mercury one color, Mercury the word one color, Mercury the man or the god a separate color. So it really turns into it's your taste. None of them were on a 42 Mercury. They're all on traditional hot rods, 32s and 28s, 29 high boys, things like that, and they just look so cool on it. So like I said, reproduction, hard to find. Hard to find this cover either nice in original shape, almost, I mean, I've seen them going for $200 as an original that was probably needed $200 worth of work. So I think people buy them thinking they're gonna smooth them out, and they don't realize how labor intensive it is to straighten out a bent hubcap. If you find one that's an original that is straight and usable, you're probably going to spend $250 on it. So just giving you some context, I think a reproduction set I saw go on eBay maybe 3 or 4 months ago, a reproduction set that were nice still went for 500 bucks. So keep that in mind. These are, when things are that expensive, that means fewer people are using them. That kind of makes it fun to add it to your hot rod because it will set it apart a little bit. So really cool 42 Mercury pre-war, and it's got that big shape. So cool. And it's got this detail around. So let me show you up close. Okay, so there's the Mercury guy, and I know it's super hard to see it between the reflection. You got a Mercury God at the bottom, and then you got the Mercury type across the middle. Unbelievably tasty, hard to find, and there are other versions of the Mercury cap that resemble this. So there is a 46 cap that has, if I'm not mistaken, it's got semicircles in it, top and bottom, and it says Mercury or the gods in it. I don't remember exactly what it was. Really cool. There's about 4 of these Mercury caps that any one of them would just be outstanding on your hot rod. So this is a 42. Most people selling them don't know what years they are. If you're looking for them, know what you're looking for. But I mean, don't be afraid to look on eBay for every other year Mercury, because most of the time the person who bought it at a garage sale has no idea other than they can read the word Mercury. So they don't know if it's off a Mercury boat or a Mercury car or a Mercury truck. They don't know, and they're liable to tell you that. So not very many people knowledgeable about what they're looking for. They're not very common. They'll put a price on it that's high because they don't know. You got to pay what you're willing to pay, but they do go for quite a bit. All right, what's the next cap? Let's look. The last cap, currently my favorite style at the moment, but I have my favorites adjust all the time. This is also a Mercury cap. This has that same feel. I'm gonna let the airplane go by. So this is also a Mercury cap. It has the same feel as that 42 in that the dimension's the same, has the ribs around the perimeter, so the body of the cap is identical. The problems you have finding that 42, you have finding the 47, 48 cap. So it is really rare and really cool. So this is a reproduction. Again, you can tell the reproductions when you're looking at one compared to the other. The stamping is a little softer. They come unpainted. This one was unpainted. I painted it, and I had this on my Brewster Green 32 because I wanted to put a set of original early Ford caps on that car because it just felt like that car had lived so much of its life with real deal parts. I wanted to keep as much of it as possible early Ford stuff. Now the original ones I had were dead sharp. I just needed to paint them, and I liked the Mercury God head in it, but I couldn't find a set in real original a real original set. I came across some of these, and I'll tell you, the hot rod world is cruel sometimes. I came across 2 of this style, 47, 48 Mercury caps, new old stock. They wanted, I think they wanted $300 for the pair plus shipping. And I was never gonna pay that much. I'm like, there's no way I'm paying $300. I hadn't done much research on these Mercury caps, so I didn't really know what the background to them was. And there were only 2, so there wasn't a whole set. And sometimes buying part of a set and then trying to find the other 2 turns out to be such a witch hunt that it takes some of the fun out of it. And I hadn't seen a lot of them come up for sale. Didn't have much of a history on what had sold before, so I passed on them. Probably a mistake, because they were original. You could see Ford Motor Company stamped on the inside of the ring, and they were painted. They were gorgeous. So fast forward, I keep looking now, like most hot rodders. Now I have FOMO, so I have fear of missing out. So now I'm looking and searching for these, because now I can't wait to find a set. And you all know that feeling. So you can laugh at me and say, I can't believe he buckled, and you all have done it, and I know it. So I'm preaching to the choir. I found a set that were presented as if they were all original. I could tell from the pictures that I was confident 3 of them were original and 1 was probably a reproduction. And the reason I bought them, they were expensive, or I mean, I'd modified my expectation on what I was going to spend, so let's just put it that way. But there were 4 of them. So the reason I wanted them was to put this style on my 32. So I didn't want to buy 2 and I didn't want to buy 3. So I bought all 4 as a set, and I probably paid a touch more. I may have paid a touch more than they were worth. But I had 4 caps. So I painted them up, put them on the car, loved it. Then I paid attention to find 1 more original. And the problem is that a lot of these guys selling 1s think that they have a gold mine. And at this point, I wasn't willing to spend $250 on a single hubcap, especially when they're not perfect. They were less than perfect. And you know, would I have spent $150 on a really nice single hubcap? If it was dead sharp, maybe I would have, but I wasn't ready. I didn't need it now, right? I had 4 on the car. So I'm watching for this style hubcap. I came across a guy who had one that was less than perfect. He wanted 200, and I just watched it. And I watched it for a couple months, and it came down 20 bucks at a time. And finally he came down to, like, I don't know, maybe 140. And he had best offer, and I'm like, I'll throw him out. I'll throw him out a price. If he takes it, he takes it. If he doesn't, then he gets the choice to pass. And a lot of times people will pass. They put best offer, but they really don't want a best offer. So I offered him 100 bucks. He obviously was tired of hanging on to it, and so I bought it. It wasn't perfect, but it was shiny. It had a couple scratches in it. It fit the 32 perfectly. The car isn't flawless, it's just nice. And so I bought that original one, I painted it, I put it on the car. You can't even see the scratch because of the way the dome is. It just reflects the light. And this is my spare now. I have a spare, and it is the reproduction. And I like having a spare one because things happen. And if I lose one, which happens, then I'll pop this on and I'll go on a hunt for another one. So that's the backstory on the 4748. Probably more than you wanted to know. They are so cool. I love them. I'll keep my eyes open. I went to Father's Day swap meet. I didn't see 1 Mercury cap. Every once in a while you'll see them on eBay pop up, but I'm really not a hubcap collector. So I don't really want to hoard hubcaps just so I have one of everything. If I don't have a car for them, I'm probably not going to buy them. I have a spare set of Mercury ones now for a future project. That's kind of the story. So let me show you up close what this looks like. And I only have these kind of on so I can pop them off with my fingers. You'll never pop one of these off with your fingers. If you do, it's not going to be on very long. So this is what it looks like. See if I can get some of the reflection off. It's got kind of wings that go each way, top and bottom, around the Mercury. It has the detents around the perimeter. On the inside, a little different look in this area. See how it's kind of recessed? Because this part of the cap goes down around the wheel a little farther. So it's made a little differently. If you can see inside, you can even tell in that reflection how soft the edge of the die is for the Mercury. It's not a crisp edge. It distorts the cap a little bit more, and that's the tell. That's how you can tell at a glance that that's an aftermarket. Now, does it matter? Maybe not. You can't find, there's none of these available in aftermarket either. So you'll see a couple, you'll see them come up for sale aftermarket on eBay, but you can't go, there's no hot rod shops selling them currently with any inventory. So I share that with you. Maybe that'll change. You don't have the luxury of saying, screw it, I'm just gonna buy some new ones, because right now there are no new ones. So that's a peek at the Mercury cap. I hope this was informative and gave you a little insight into maybe some options you might put on your car. They're super cool. I showed you a 40, a 46, 47, 48, and then Mercury in 42 and 47, 48. So you have various years that you have maybe a little more knowledge about, and you know what you're getting into. They all fit this same wheel, this same early Ford with the inside detents, both 16 and 15-inch wheels that have this inside detent will take either of these caps. That's about all I have to share. Please, if you're still with me on the video, please like, share, subscribe, and we'd love to hear any comments you have. And I'm Clay for Chop Shop Motors, and we'll see you on the next project.